The sun was dipping below the skyline of their suburban neighborhood, painting Laura's bedroom in shades of orange and long shadow. At her desk, she was finishing an email for her marketing job when her phone screen lit up with a text that made her stomach flip. It was from her younger sister, Chloe. "Sister, I need to talk to you. Come to my room now. It's important." Laura frowned. The all caps, the urgency, it was so unlike Chloe. Chloe was the free spirit, the aspiring painter who floated through the family home like a pleasant, distracted breeze. Laura, 3 years older, was the anchor, the planner, the one who'd stayed local after college to be near family. She typed back, "Everything okay? You sound freaked." The reply was immediate. "Just come, please." Laura saved her work and stood, a knot of unease tightening in her chest. She padded down the carpeted hallway, past the framed family photos chronicling their childhood, gap-toothed grins, graduation gowns, their parents' smiling faces. Chloe's door was slightly ajar. Laura pushed it open. The scene was one of organized chaos, as always, canvases leaning against walls, the scent of turpentine and jasmine incense hanging in the air. Chloe was sitting cross-legged on her bed, her usually vibrant face pale and drawn. In her hands, she clutched her phone like it was a lifeline or a live wire. "Hey," Laura said softly, closing the door behind her. "What's going on? You're scaring me." Chloe looked up, her eyes wide and shimmering with unshed tears. "I did something stupid, Laura. Really, really stupid. And I don't know what to do." "Okay," Laura said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Just tell me, did you get a ticket? Max out your credit card again? We can fix it." "It's not that." Chloe took a shuddering breath. "It's about Mark." Mark. Laura's Mark. Her husband of 4 years. The high school sweetheart who made her coffee every morning and remembered her favorite flower. The man who was currently on a weekend fishing trip with his buddies upstate. "What about Mark?" Laura asked, her voice suddenly cool, detached, as if listening to a story about strangers. Chloe thrust her phone toward Laura. On the screen was a series of text messages. The contact name was simply M. The preview of the most recent one read, "Last night was a mistake. We can't do this again. Delete this." The room seemed to tilt. Laura took the phone, her fingers numb. She scrolled up. The messages weren't extensive, but they were damning. Flirty banter from a week ago. A plan to meet yesterday afternoon when Laura was at her late meeting. Then, the confirmation, "Your place was amazing. I've never felt so," followed by a heart emoji from Chloe. And finally, Mark's panicked response from this morning, the one calling it a mistake. The words blurred. Laura heard a ringing in her ears, a high-pitched whine that drowned out the distant sound of a lawnmower outside. "It was just once," Chloe whispered, her voice breaking. "He came over to look at my new paintings. You were working late. We had a glass of wine, and then another. He was saying how you've been so distant, so focused on work, and I was talking about how no one takes me seriously, and it just happened. I'm so sorry, Laura. I'm so sorry. I couldn't hold it in. I had to tell you." Laura handed the phone back as if it were coated in acid. She stood up, walking over to the window, needing space, needing air that wasn't thick with the scent of her sister's confession. She watched a neighbor water their flowers, a mundane act in a world that had just shattered. "How long?" Laura asked, her back to Chloe. "Just yesterday. I swear. It was the only time." "The messages," Laura said still, facing the window. "They read like there was something building. The flirting. The I've never felt so." Chloe was silent for a beat too long. "We've been texting a bit. Just friendly stuff." It got out of hand. Laura turned around, leaning against the windowsill. The pain was a physical thing now, a cold, heavy stone lodged in her diaphragm, making it hard to breathe. The two people she loved most, her sister, her confidant, her husband, her partner. Their betrayal wasn't just a fracture, it was a total demolition of her reality. "You have to leave," Laura said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Laura, please." "No. Pack a bag. Go to Mum and Dad's. Or to a friend's. I don't care. You cannot be in this house when he gets back tomorrow." "What are you going to do?" Chloe asked, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know. But I need you gone, now." The next 24 hours were a marathon of quiet agony. Laura moved through the house like a ghost. She didn't cry, not yet. She was in a state of emotional shock, her mind racing in frantic, obsessive circles. She checked Mark's shared location, still upstate at the cabin. She looked at their wedding photos on the mantel. She sat in his favorite chair, trying to smell his cologne on the fabric. She felt like she was going insane. She began to see the clues, the tiny fissures she'd ignored. Mark's phone, always face down lately. His new interest in abstract art, asking about Chloe's exhibitions. The weekend trip planned so suddenly. Had it been a cover? Had he and Chloe planned this? The questions were vipers in her mind. The next evening, she heard his key in the lock. Her heart hammered against her ribs. He came in, dropping his duffel bag, looking tired but happy, holding a paper bag. "Hey, babe, missed you. Brought you some of that maple candy from the general store up there." Laura was sitting on the couch, still in her work clothes. She hadn't slept. "We need to talk." Mark's smile faltered. "Okay, everything all right? Where's Chloe?" "Her car's not here." "That's what we need to talk about." "Chloe." Laura watched his face carefully. She saw the exact moment the panic hit him. It wasn't a dramatic flinch, but a subtle draining of color, a minute tightening around his eyes. It was all the confirmation she needed. "What about her?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. "She told me everything, Mark, yesterday. Before you could send your "it was a mistake" text and try to bury it." He stood frozen in the middle of their living room, the bag of maple candy dangling from his hand. The facade crumbled. "Laura. God, it was nothing. It was a moment of insanity. I love you. It meant nothing. Don't you dare tell me it meant nothing." She exploded. "Finally, the dam breaking. You were in my sister's bed, in this house, while I was in a meeting trying to secure our future. How could you?" The confrontation was long and brutal. There were tears, his, mostly, denials that it had been more than once, pleas for forgiveness, promises of counseling. Laura listened, cold and immovable as granite. She asked cold, specific questions about details she didn't want to know but needed to hear. Each answer was a new laceration. Finally, exhausted, she said, "I want you to leave, to go to a hotel. I need space to think." "Laura, this is my home." "Not tonight, it isn't." After he left, the silence was absolute and suffocating. The house she had loved felt like a crime scene. Every room held evidence of a life that was now a lie. The next few days were a blur of logistical numbness. She called her parents, telling them the bare minimum, that there had been a betrayal and she needed time. She could hear her mother's shocked tears, her father's stunned silence. The perfect family portrait was cracked. Laura took a week off work. She ignored the dozens of pleading texts from Mark and the hysterical, self-flagellating ones from Chloe. She spent her days walking for miles, drinking too much tea, and staring at walls. The initial shock was wearing off, leaving behind a raw, grinding pain and a question. What now? She knew what convention dictated. She should divorce him, cut her sister out of her life forever. The narrative was clear. They were villains. She was the victim. But as the days passed, a more complicated and terrifying question emerged. Why? Not to excuse them, but to understand, to piece together how her marriage and her family had arrived at this catastrophic point. She thought about Mark's comment about her being distant. It was true. Her promotion last year had come with crushing hours. She came home drained, talking about spreadsheets and campaigns, often too tired for the hikes and movie nights they used to love. She had assumed their love was a constant, a foundation so solid it didn't need daily maintenance. And Chloe, her brilliant, sensitive, insecure sister, always in Laura's shadow, the unpredictable one compared to Laura's reliable self. Had she ever truly listened to Chloe's fears about her art, her future, or had she just offered polite platitudes? Had Mark, in his own loneliness, offered the attention Laura was too busy to give? The pieces of the puzzle, ugly as they were, began to fit together. A week after the confrontation, Laura made 2 calls. The first was to a highly recommended marriage counselor, booking an appointment for herself. The second was to Chloe. "Meet me at the lakeside park tomorrow at 10, she said, her voice devoid of warmth. Alone. The next morning was overcast. Laura saw Chloe already there, sitting on a bench by the water, looking small and fragile. Laura sat beside her, leaving a careful foot of space between them. "I'm not here to forgive you," Laura began, staring at the grey water. "What you did was a profound violation, and I may never get over the image of you two together. I need you to know that." Chloe nodded, fresh tears falling. "I know. I don't deserve forgiveness. But," Laura continued, "I've been trying to understand how we got here, and I see my part in it. I checked out of my marriage, and I've maybe never seen you as a full, complicated adult, just as my kid sister. That doesn't make what you did okay. Not even a little bit. But it means this isn't a simple story." Chloe wiped her eyes. "It's not an excuse, but he was there, listening, complimenting my work. You were always so successful, so sure of everything, and I felt so lost. He made me feel seen. It was wrong, and I knew it even as it was happening, but I felt so hungry for that feeling. It was the most honest thing Chloe had said since this began. Laura absorbed it, the truth of it as painful as the betrayal itself. I'm starting therapy, Laura said. For me, I've told Mark I will consider going to counseling with him, but separately. For now, I need to figure out who I am outside of being a wife and a sister. I need to rebuild myself from the ground up. What can I do? Chloe whispered. Stay away. Work on yourself. Get your own therapy. If and when I'm ever ready to have a conversation about possibly, one day in the far future, rebuilding some kind of relationship, I will let you know. Until then, you respect my silence. The path forward was agonizingly slow. Individual therapy became Laura's anchor. She began to unpack a lifetime of being the responsible one, the caretaker who neglected her own needs. She started painting again, a hobby she'd abandoned in college, finding a messy, cathartic release in the colors and strokes. After 2 months, she agreed to see Mark, but only in the therapist's office. The sessions were brutally hard. They fought, they cried, they dissected the rot that had settled into their marriage long before the physical infidelity. Mark took full responsibility. He quit his fishing trips, came home from work on time, and tried, in every overt way, to prove his remorse. But Laura wasn't ready to let him back in. The trust was atomized. She focused on herself. She reconnected with old friends. She took a solo weekend trip to the mountains. She learned, haltingly, to sit with her own company. 6 months after that fateful text, Laura was in her home office, now just her office, working on a new painting. It was abstract, a storm of dark blues and angry reds breaking apart to reveal hints of softer gold beneath. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Mark. I was cleaning out the garage and found the box of letters we wrote each other in college. I read a few. I remembered the person I was when I was with you then. I am so sorry for losing him. I understand if you can't, but I am committed to becoming a man worthy of you again.